So this video might make some folks upset, and to be honest, I don't really know why. So Laracon Day 2, Livewire keynote, which is Caleb Porzio's keynote, the creator of Livewire, the creator of Alpine.js, announced Flux. Now, Flux is something that Caleb has been teasing for quite a while. 9 months ago, he posted tweets about working on UI components or working on figuring out UI components, or at least just saying that he might launch or might release a UI component library. And now 9 months later, we have that, but people are upset. Now, my opinion, and what I'm going to try to convince you, is twofold. One is this is going to be something that is incredible for most people. Two, we need to do better as a Laravel community, as people in the Laravel community. For those of you who weren't able to watch the live stream, Flux is the Livewire UI kit that Caleb Porzio announced. And this wasn't just him working on it. Caleb had a designer, and Owen Conti's thread has a bunch of incredible notes, just live thoughts, a full stream of consciousness out the keynote. Caleb has a designer who works at Tuple. If you don't know Tuple, incredible company, incredibly designed company, and Hugo is like one of the great minds behind that. And Flux is the application UI kit for Livewire. And the thing that I want to point out, and you can read like this whole thread, there's some incredible stuff here, but the thing I want to point out, and I think would be apparent if you have been following Caleb's journey in building this, whether through his own podcast, Notes on Work, whether through No Plans to Merge, his podcast with Daniel Colborn, or even just the most recent podcast episode with Aaron Francis on Mostly Technical. Caleb has basically stated that the UI kit is really just the thing that he is releasing, that is a way for him to release the thing that he's really excited about. And we see that in some of these notes here. There is a underlying layer, a core in Flux. And of course, we don't know all of the details yet. Caleb shared most of this on stage, but the core piece of Flux, the JavaScript, is the meat and potatoes. It's the thing that Caleb is really excited about, and I think that most people just don't get. So there is a Reddit thread on the Laravel Reddit talking about Flux, and every single comment is harsh. And this is where I think as a Laravel community, we need to do better. And I know I'm not like the sole voice to say, hey, just stop doing this and do better. But this is my personal, what I got ramped up about when I was reading some of these comments, is I think most of the people who are writing these comments, and again, I'm trying not to put as much generalizations as possible. Most people who are writing these comments feel like Caleb, because of the work that he's done in Livewire and because of the work he's done in Alpine, owe them something. And one, he doesn't. This is work that he has put time and effort into. And even if I was not going to use Flux at all, which I am going to, and I'm going to share some of the reasons why I'm going to use it, but even if I wasn't going to use Flux, I think that there are people within the Laravel community who, because of the work they have done, if you have not sponsored them via GitHub or sponsored them in any other way, that was just one way of showing your appreciation and showing back. And I think as a community, that is something that I have appreciated as a Laravel community. I think we can continue to do that, even for things like this. Two, if you don't like this, if you are frustrated with the price, I would say that's probably okay. But we don't need to tear down someone's work just because of the price point they put on it, and just because it feels like it's lacking according to your standards. Now, why would I say it's not lacking according to your standards? Two reasons. A lot of people in those threads are talking about different UI kits. And we see like all of the different pieces that Caleb kind of goes through over the talk in this Twitter thread. There's a ton of them, and so much like just work and effort being put into it. It's really taken a lot of inspiration, I would say personally, from like Shad CN and Radix UI personally. And that's the piece that I want to focus in on. Yes, this landing page doesn't show that much because it's not actually released yet. You can just pre-order. This is just a basic bare bones landing page, and it's going to be released next week. And of course, we see some components here, drop down, email, different pieces and stuff like that. But the meat and potatoes is not the UI kit, although I think it's going to be incredible and it's going to be perfect for the folks who are looking to have something basically drop and play within Livewire and Alpine. But it's the underlying piece that I think Caleb and Hugo have put so much attention and detail into. When you take a look at something like Radix UI, there is a lot of work that has gone into us, and so many people wrap Radix UI and say, but there's so much accessibility aspect to go into it. There's so much JavaScript and things that people don't think of until it actually happens or until they need to think about it. And I think that is, at least from the podcasts that I've listened to, that is Caleb's main goal with this. It's not really the component library piece. That's like the way for him to get to play and to create and to build that underlying piece. Flux is both and. It's the underlying JavaScript piece as well as the overlaid piece. And yes, those other UI component libraries, ones that I admire and love, things like Mare UI or Wire UI or things like Tall Stack UI, all of those have their place. But especially due to the nature of just time constraints, you don't necessarily have every single element thought of in the same way that I believe, and from what I saw on stage, that Caleb and Hugo have thought about every single piece, not just what it looks like, what it's underlying. So I advise you to take a look through this Twitter thread and just take a look and see of all the things that have been thought through. And I can guarantee that what we saw on stage, what kind of these notes represent, is still only a small subset of what has already been thought through. One of the things I want to point out is there's only one JavaScript dependency currently, and Caleb mentioned that this is going to be something that eventually when CSS kind of comes to fruition, maybe in the next year, you can drop this with the popover CSS. But currently, the JavaScript library underlying Flux is only 16 kilobytes minified. Crazy. Now, I don't have any kind of numbers of what is it compared to other UI component libraries, but with Flux, Livewire, Alpine.js, under 100 kilobytes combined. And that is perfect for any library. The piece I want to think about is every single aspect has been thought of. And so even if you didn't care about like, okay, how it looks or like it's too expensive, whatever, there shouldn't be a need to cut it down just because it's not something that you prefer or that you enjoy or that you like or that you don't even want to have the ability to play around with. And if the price and like the way that it's being set up right now doesn't appeal to you, then it's probably not something that you would find value. And Caleb, Porzio, and Hugo, is the designer who helped Caleb with this. Again, it's not just Caleb's project. We owe it to them as a community to not cut them down just because it's something that doesn't necessarily fit for us or doesn't necessarily mean that we are supposed to be given this for free. So I know it's like a little bit of a rant video just because I was a little flustered maybe, and maybe a little bit ramped up or amped up when I saw a lot of those comments. But the two things I wanted to get out of this thing is, one, Flux is way more than a UI component library, especially just from what I've seen, from what some of the beta testers have told me. I was not a beta tester, but because there is that underlying component that has been meticulously thought through. And yes, there probably are other UI components that may be open source that have also been thought through in the same way, but really that's what you would be paying for, is you're saying, I want to use this for my customers so I don't have to rely on something that is open source and can be changed. I want to use something that I know is all maintained, every single aspect, down to only one JavaScript library. Again, that is looking to be replaced in the next year. So that's one aspect that maybe it is, even if you don't necessarily agree with the price point, or maybe it's something that you don't see yourself using. The second piece I would want to say is we can do better as a Laravel community. I think we just came off of this whole Laracon piece where the biggest push is that Laravel is all about bringing friends, bringing people, bringing creators into this ecosystem. And we don't just get things for free. We do within the Laravel framework and community, but at the same time, it's not something that we should be expecting. And even if that doesn't happen, even if there's incredible things like this, and maybe you thought that, okay, this was going to be something Caleb was going to put out for free and then you can use it, just because it's not something that you necessarily thought would be in the way that you wanted it to be, doesn't mean we should immediately attack others or put down their work, or even start saying, well, I'm just not going to use it and use something else. Good. Okay. You can do that. That's your own prerogative and your own initiative. But I think that the release of Flux is one thing that I'm incredibly excited for, to change like how I write demos and projects and maybe even client work. Even if I wasn't as excited for this as I am, there's a lot that goes into packages. There's a lot that goes into development. There's a lot that goes into production ready products like this that we don't see behind the scenes. So we can do better as Laravel community, as a Livewire community. And we can do better in order to say, okay, what am I building with? What am I creating with? Whether it's Flux or any other open source library, you can still use those, but find something that someone has put craft into that works, and that you can put craft into, that you can put guts and attention and energy into, and help make our Laravel community better. I believe Flux is making our community better because there's going to be so much more potential within the Livewire community to build things that are designed better. There's a reason why Hugo is on this project, because Caleb mentioned he's not a designer. Hugo is. So whatever you use, be better in the Laravel community, be better in the Livewire community, and let's keep creating together. Let's build, let's create, let's ship, let's keep creating.